What if I told you there was a magical formula that you could use to make your schools, your offices, your communities a better place? Well, I've got something even better than magic because it's real. In fact, it sounds a lot like science. It's called alchemy, or more precisely, human alchemy. And I believe it's the key to bringing growth, innovation, and greater community connection here in Brighton and beyond. But before I go into what human alchemy is, I want to tell you how human alchemy came to be, starting in the hayfields of Wrightsville, Arkansas, through to this stage here in Brighton, UK. It was 1996. Here I was, a country boy from a rural farm in Wrightsville, headed to university, one of the most posh suburbs of Chicago, Lake Forest, surrounded by genuine scholars from some of the most prestigious prep schools from across America. We were discussing this book, Ways of Seeing, how your perspective, your point of view, your vantage point, how these things all impacted how people from different places experienced the same painting. People of different heights, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, same painting, completely different experience. Fast forward to 2011, here I am, a little bit more confident and daring. My first day in film school at London Film Academy. The instructor was breaking us off into pairs so that we could prepare for our end-of-term project, a 2-minute short film. But I didn't just want to make any film. I needed to make something profound. Thinking back to my university days and ways of seeing, I stood up and abruptly stopped the instructor mid-sentence. I suggest we choose our own partners, and I want to work with her, pointing to this gobsmacked student named Helia. Hel Ying Chen from Hong Kong, about as far away as possible from the perspectives of a corn-fed country boy raised on the farms of Wrightsville, Arkansas. Hel was in school to become a film director, and so was I. Within an hour, this unassuming student who had a YouTube channel that was aptly named Cute Evil, she had lobbied to become the director of our project. For us to work together and deliver a unified vision, I had to set my ego to the side. This was my first taste of human alchemy. On the back of film school, I turned into this person who would have a camera everywhere I went. I developed my voice and a love for photography. And I had that camera with me 4 years later, traveling to the south of France, to the foothills of the Cevennes, to visit a dear friend of mine on his farm, this funny 87-year-old Dutch linguist named Augustin. Going to Augustin's farm, it felt a lot like traveling back into the 1800s. It was so similar to the farm where I grew up, at the same time, so far away. This summer's visit, it would be a bit different, though. There was this family from Germany who was also there. I guess they must have also enjoyed swatting flies in the summertime with hands that were sticky and red-stained from picking buckets of cherries. But that year, I became kindreds with the most unassuming. This 12-year-old, strikingly blonde pilgrim named Moritz. The first time I saw Moritz, he had a chunky DSLR camera around his neck, and it was dwarfing his tiny little hands. And he had this one crystal blue eye, the other milky and guarded. See, Moritz, he had lost that eye before he could remember. He was a bit shy at first, but it didn't take a while until he started opening up and showing me some of his photos. And that's when I saw it, this one in particular. I'd seen the scene in real life. It was a picture of this rainbow-colored swordfish. Something about this photo, it was just incredible. It just summed up everything that brought people like us to this place. You see, Augustin, he would go to the fish market down in the community and bring up some of the leftovers to feed his pigs. And he'd hung this swordfish on a rusty hook on the entrance of one of his barns. thinking about Moritz's incredible photo, being a professional, I'm thinking, I need to capture a masterpiece of my own. So I decided to wake up the next morning at sunrise and go out and capture my own photo. Camera, tripod, fancy lens, trudging through the dust, dodging piles of manure, snapping away. But somehow, no matter what I did, I just couldn't find the right angle. I couldn't find the right light. And eventually, I had to admit to myself that I'd been bested by a 12-year-old photographer with one eye. Moritz's single photo, it spoke in ways that my technical expertise and years of experience just couldn't match. Human alchemy, the values that brought us all to this place, but that universal voice of photography that connected us. Human alchemy is delivering a vision for change by people who share values, who are unified by a shared voice. Shared values, shared vision, shared voice. When you get ready to leave today, I want you to ask yourself, what vision for change are you going to deliver through human alchemy? For me, 1 year ago, that vision was not clearly in focus. I was enjoying my first TEDx experience, sitting right over there, captivated by this incredible space, in awe of the speakers, the brilliance, the challenge to shape the world that we envision. I was starting to get a bit restless by intermission. Here I was in Brighton, enjoying another signature event. But somehow, this city that so proudly professes inclusivity seems once again to lack the ability to platform people from diverse perspectives on stage. At intermission, that's when the lights went down, and this low drone of bass started filling the dome. Smoke was billowing from the center of the stage as these anonymous figures from a local performing arts school were taking their mark. As the bass took shape to a beat, I found myself nodding and swaying to their rhythmic expressions. But something was missing. What was missing was the culture connecting the expression. In their hip-hop street dance routine, I had to ask myself, where were the black and brown people? In this opportunity to platform people from diverse places, once again, Brighton had missed a chance. This was my culture, my expression, but no one like me on stage. Becoming frustrated, taking it personal at this point, I fumbled for my phone, looked up to take a photo, just like Moritz would, one that would sum up exactly what my experiences were, what my people felt. I had a tiny audience online at the time, so I went onto LinkedIn, where I shared that photo in a scathing rebuke of Brighton. Then I settled myself, sat down, and enjoyed what turned out to be a surprisingly diverse second half of TEDxBrighton 2024. I kind of put all that behind me and then got up to leave as the event ended, had a look at my phone, and saw dozens of notifications and impressions have been flooding in. I set off an absolute maelstrom. Dozens of people from all kinds of different backgrounds, people who share this experience of a lack of representation in the business spaces and cultural art spaces across our city. That's how it began. That's how it was formed, the Brighton United community, where we formed to bring more global majority representation to the business spaces, cultural art spaces, and networking groups across our city. Brighton United is human alchemy. Diverse voices with shared values who've unified for a vision for change. People from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different cultural heritages, different age groups, sexual identities, but every voice equally valid. We put our egos to the side and we work together for a common goal. There's other examples of human alchemy in the world. The Playing for Change movement, where people from diverse cultures come together and artists create music and videos to deliver a message of peace, unity, and hope. Or the International Space Station, where you have experts in different cultures who come together for the purpose of scientific exploration. And that's the beauty of human alchemy. People just like you coming together to make your schools and your offices and your communities a better place. But to make this change possible, first, you have to identify your values. What do you stand for? Most of us in this room share common values. From there, human alchemy requires you to refine your voice. How do you express what you stand for? But more importantly, you have to learn to understand the voices of others. Be willing to set your ego to the side and be led by people from different cultural backgrounds, people from different socioeconomic standings, people with different levels of education who are unified by your values. And lastly, when you recognize those voices where there's resonance in your values, use your voices to unite. Change does not come from the same pieces in the same boxes doing things the same way. The magic of human alchemy is innovation. The magic is how we infuse creative perspectives into our cultural art spaces and businesses. Let human alchemy guide you in finding that connection, that unity in your vision, to deliver the change that we all dream to be a part of, that we all have a role to play in, that we all have the power to make happen with the magic of human alchemy. Thank you.